This is TWiT.
This episode of Tech Break is brought to you by ACI Learning. ACI Learning provides world-class service from beginning to end of your training journey and beyond. Fortify your expertise with access to self-paced IT training videos, interactive practice labs, and certification practice tests. Individuals use the code TWIT30 for 30% off a standard or premium individual IT Pro membership at go.acilearning.com/twit. Broadcast cable is in a world of hurt, but then so is streaming. So I don't know what's going on. The linear, for the first time since they've been keeping track of this, linear TV viewing, that's broadcast and cable, fell below 50% of all TV use. Overall TV went up because there's a lot more streaming, but linear TV, broadcast networks, 20% of viewing in July, cable 29.6% viewing, both down from the previous month, a low point since Nielsen began tracking this. Now, they've only been tracking it for a few years, but I have to think, when they started in June 2021, it was at a peak because of COVID.
Right.
It's been just going straight down.
Can I say I don't like this? I don't like this stat, especially since you threw out that it was first tracked around the COVID times. People are way more liberal with their free time now, and they're
going out, they're traveling, they're doing stuff. So maybe it's meaningless, huh?
Right. I mean, even if you don't have a ton of money, you still get the heck out of the house.
Streaming grew from 26% a share of viewing in June 2021 to 38.7% in July. That's a 48% jump. So it's not like we're not looking at the screen.
That screen is in the back seat of the car, and some teenagers,
on
kids'
mobile.
hand.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, that might be.
I haven't watched linear TV since, like 2010 or 2009.
YouTube,
because I haven't been able to access it.
Right. You're a cord cutter. YouTube led the way, 9.2% of all TV use. That is kind of mind-boggling.
Wow.
Netflix, 8.5%. Tubi, Fox's advertising-supported video on demand, 1.4%. That was his best month of all, timed with HBO Max. Now just Max. So what's happening? It's very interesting. Try this with a study the Financial Times did that said for the first time this year, it costs more to be a cord cutter than not. Your cable bill, which is about $83 on average, streaming went from $73 last year if you got a package of kind of the most popular streaming things like Max and Netflix and whatever. I don't know what the list was, but this is sort of an average, to $87. So for many people, because the cost of the internet plus the cost of the streaming is actually more expensive than your cable bill, and yet more people are watching streaming than they are watching cable now. And
as prices go up, that's going to shift again because they can't make money on the streaming.
Exactly.
This is YouTube uber alles, man. TikTok uber alles. It's going to be a free-for-all out there, and the big old studios don't know what to do. Meanwhile, the strikes are on. Meanwhile, if that goes on much longer.
It's a perfect storm. This is a perfect storm. Disney Plus, the cost of Disney Plus has gone up 48% in the last year. Almost 50% in the last year. And that's because they've been pouring billions of dollars into content, and they're trying to make it up. Some say, and might be true, conspiracy theory, they're also trying to drive you to the ad-supported tiers. So ad-supported Netflix or Tubi or Pluto TV. Or
Amazon's got one too, right?
Yeah, Freevee. Freevee, it's called. Maybe they make more money in the advertising than they would. I find this hard to believe than they would if you paid us.
Well, they want to hedge their bets.
Right.
They want more than one revenue stream.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel sad because I cut the cord in 2008, and it was a golden. I told my kid who's 17, I was like, you have grown up in a golden era of not
You're doing
seeing
that already.
ads.
It was so great when I was young.
Well, no, I still remember when they were like,
Mom.
They were 10 and they were like, I feel so sorry for my cousins because they have to watch TV shows when they're on because they were still watching linear TV and we just didn't have it.
Yeah, it's true.
And now they're like, we watched something the other night that had ads and they're like, oh, I hate this. Let's go to Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
So we just dumped what we were going to watch. They were just not into it.
But I have to say they've screwed themselves because you're right. People don't want to see ads, so that's not really an option. But people don't want to pay 48% more for Disney Plus. I feel like it's a perfect storm that we're headed to collapse, and I worry that the writers and the actors are going to.
The subsidy for free. I mean, there's a couple ways this goes, right? And regulation comes into this too. So if ad targeting is outlawed and so on and so on and so forth, so then everything goes behind a paywall. Well, number one, there ain't enough money to pay for everything that's behind a paywall now. So some stuff's going to just die. Advertising was a support for free and cheap media that, including news. It was wonderful. But it's going to go away. And I think that the total old legacy mass media is what's dying. And they're going to stay alive for as long as they can. I don't mean they're going to fall over tomorrow, but it's what's happened to the music business. They've got to learn the lessons about that. What happened to newspapers, they got to learn the lessons about that. Magazines, same thing. Now what's happening to TV.
We've learned.
By the way, movies are crappy too. There aren't that many good movies out.
Yeah, look at. I keep going to the Apple TV movies thing because I don't want to go to a theater, and I look at the movies, and they're awful. And this is summer. Yeah. This is when
but their TV shows are pretty good, though.
Yeah, you're right. They're better TV shows. I did go see Oppenheimer.
Yeah, maybe
by
people
the way.
don't watch.
Do you want me to give you my review of Oppenheimer in 70 millimeter IMAX? It's big. It's really big.
Thank you,
especially when you're that close.
The first scene, we're in the fifth row. The first scene is a very tight close-up on Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer. Just his face. Just his face on a 5-story movie screen, and I'm about 20 feet away from it. It's like, I hope the whole movie isn't like this.
The worst.
A lot of close-ups. It's good, but the IMAX kind of overwhelms the movie, so I have to see it in a regular screen just to see if I like it. Like, it's like the experience, it's like a roller coaster ride. The experience is more. I thought it was pretty good. It was way too long.
Yeah.
They can cut an hour. They could easily cut an hour out of this without hurting anything.
Yeah.
Because
this might be what. Oh,
no.
Go on.
No.
You were giving your review. I'm so sorry.
No, you.
Go ahead, Miss Stacey.
No, but I want to hear from you much more than I want to hear from me.
Well, I was just saying that a lot of movies do seem too long, and this might be kind of one reason that kids are like, or people are not watching movies even when they're on streaming. It's just
exactly why I don't.
Much of an investment.
That's exactly why I don't. Give me 90 minutes.
Yeah, Lisa's the same way. In fact, I didn't mind going. I said, "You sure you don't mind me going to see Oppenheimer without you?" She said, "No, it's too long. I'm not going to. I'll see it when we get it at home because we can pause it, watch the second half the next night." Well, it's kind of both, right, Stacey? Because kids are also watching a lot more short form content, so their attention span's shrinking while movies are getting longer.
I don't know if they're
do it for like 3 hours. They'll watch TikTok for like 2.5 hours, and I'm like,
wow. Yeah. I think their tolerance of the hegemony of the storyteller is lowered.
There was a little too much hegemony. That's my review. That's the thumbnail review. Christopher Nolan has too much hegemony. He has too much power. Nobody's going to say no to him. So it's based on the book American Prometheus, which I've started to read now, as everybody does after they watch the movie. And this kind of the spine of the book is the last act of Oppenheimer's life, when they revoked his clearance to the Atomic Energy Commission, and they had a very long hearing, and he had to go through his whole life story. And it makes sense for a book to have that be the spine, like flashback. But it made the movie extra long because they keep going from it's not a courtroom, from the hearing to the events, to the hearing and the events and the back and forth. And I think that was a mistake to be too faithful to the book. It's longer than it needs to be, but it's a good story. It's a very important story. The really important part of it is, I was talking to somebody who said, it's really about AI. And I said, what? and it's the issue of the scientists were more interested in whether they could do it than what the consequences of doing it would be,
Right.
And really the story of the atomic bomb is they were worried Hitler was going to get one. Oppenheimer was Jewish, as were most of the scientists working at Los Alamos, just trying to build the A-bomb. And they were very worried, reasonably so, that Hitler would get it first and it would be the end of the world. And so there was a race to beat Hitler to get it first. But then it's VE Day. The war is over. Hitler's defeated. And still the government wants to go ahead and develop the A-bomb and then eventually drops it on the Japanese. There's lots of questions of whether they needed to do it twice. Oppenheimer feels a lot of guilt and regret, but he knew even as they were doing it, once we release this, there's no taking it back. Once we develop this, you can't say, oh yeah, don't use it. And he was very disturbed because then there was a push to develop the hydrogen bomb, which is 100 times more powerful. And he said, no, we don't do that because it'll create an arms race. And Edward Teller said, no, we need it. The government said, no, we need it. And we developed the H-bomb, of course, as you know. Mm-hmm. And Oppenheimer was very upset about that. And that's kind of my friend likened that to the AI conundrum, is you do it because it's an interesting engineering problem, but consider what you're releasing. There's no taking it back.
There's unintended consequences in damn near everything today. Though.
Certainly technology, but some of it's more consequential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? I think it's all about the hegemony of the storyteller, personally. Anyway, it's a good movie. You should see it, and it raises very interesting.
But you're not. It sounds like you're not an IMAX aficionado.
Maybe if I sat farther back.
So would I feel sad if I watched it later?
No.
On like Netflix?
That's how you should watch it.
Uh-oh.
In fact, what I'm saying is don't regret that you didn't see it in IMAX.
Great.
It's probably better just to watch it.
There's IMAX, and then there's regular movie theater, and then there's
It'll be
couch.
fine. The content is fine is what really matters. It's not, when the bomb blows up, it's over, it's big. But it's not the most important part of the movie, even Trinity, the actual.
Right.
I don't think you were on the pre-show, Stacey, when Leo realized that he thought he'd ordered his seats 5 from the back.
Yeah.
No, I remember that. Yes.
Like, really?
Front.
Dude, that's not right.
It wasn't awful, but
it wasn't great.
You know what? The real thing is IMAX is about spectacle. The first movies in IMAX were all nature films and short films and watch as we walk through space and stuff. Mm-hmm. And
you walking through space?
It was no, yeah. It was Christopher Nolan and a few filmmakers said, "Oh no, this would be great for movies." Yeah. I think they were mistaken because it's really more. It suddenly becomes not about the movie but the technology. Mm-hmm. I saw The Dark Knight at the same theater. Mm-hmm. Which was also partially IMAX and partially not.
Yeah, I hate how
that was terrible.
Switched it.
I think it's a theater big enough for their ego.
They're
agree. Like, my movie is so amazing. You need to watch it on film at the biggest. Yes, that's all this is.
Actually, that's exactly what Nolan said. Is if you want to see this the way it should be seen, you need to see it on 70 millimeter film on IMAX. And I believed him, and I don't agree. And that is a little bit of ego, isn't it?